Watch these 8 Star Trek Strange New Worlds episodes to truly understand Lon. Few characters in Star Trek Strange New Worlds arrive with as much emotional weight baked into their DNA as Lon Noonien Singh. From the moment she steps onto the USS Enterprise, her very name carries the shadow of history, one that the Star Trek universe has taught us to fear. But Lon is not a villain, nor is she simply a tragic survivor defined by trauma. Across the first seasons of Strange New Worlds, Lon slowly reveals herself as one of the franchise's most complex, quietly devastating characters. Understanding Lon isn't about watching every episode she appears in. It's about watching the right episodes, the ones that peel back her armor, challenge her worldview, and force her to confront both her lineage and her loneliness. These 8 episodes form an emotional roadmap of who Lon is, where she comes from, and why she matters so deeply to Strange New Worlds. Season 1, Episode 2, Children of the Comet. Lon's journey begins not with a spotlight, but with restraint. Children of the Comet introduces her as a security chief defined by vigilance and severity. She's blunt, uncompromising, and visibly uncomfortable with ambiguity, a stark contrast to Captain Pike's optimism. This episode matters because it establishes Lon's default state: control through caution. Her insistence on protocol isn't arrogance, it's survival. Every decision she makes is filtered through fear of what could go wrong, a mindset born from deep, unspoken trauma. While other crew members see wonder in the comet, Lon sees danger, and the episode subtly invites viewers to question why she's wired this way. At this stage, Lon doesn't explain herself. She doesn't need to. Her tension speaks volumes. Season 1, Episode 4, Memento Mori. If Children of the Comet shows Lon's rigidity, Memento Mori explains it. This is the episode that changes how audiences see her forever. When the Enterprise is hunted by the Gorn, Lon's composure cracks, and for the first time, she shares the truth about her past. As a child, she was captured by the Gorn, forced to watch her family slaughtered, and left psychologically scarred. What makes Memento Mori essential isn't just the revelation of trauma. It's how Lon handles it. She doesn't seek sympathy. She weaponizes her fear into strategy, using her intimate knowledge of the Gorn to save the ship. Her trauma becomes both her greatest vulnerability and her greatest strength. This episode reframes Lon entirely. She's not cold. She's terrified, and still shows up anyway. Season 1, Episode 6, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. This episode doesn't focus on Lon's backstory, but it's crucial for understanding her moral framework. Lon isn't naive, becomes the unspoken thesis here. While others grapple with the ethical horror of the Mayalan society, Lon approaches the situation with grim clarity. She understands systems that sacrifice individuals for perceived stability because she has lived inside one, first with the Gorn, then under the shadow of her name. Her reactions in this episode demonstrate a core truth. Lon expects the universe to be cruel. That expectation doesn't make her heartless. It makes her deeply empathetic to victims who are trapped with no good options. She doesn't romanticize suffering. She recognizes it instantly. Season 1, Episode 9, All Those Who Wander. All Those Who Wander pushes Lon back into her worst nightmare. Facing the Gorn again, Lon is forced into a leadership role while surrounded by cadets who look to her for guidance. This time, however, she's no longer a lone survivor. She's responsible for others, and that responsibility terrifies her more than the monsters themselves. What makes this episode vital is how it shows Lon confronting her survivor's guilt. She fears she's only alive because others weren't. Watching young cadets die reopens wounds she never allowed to heal. And yet, she continues to fight, not out of duty, but out of a desperate desire to ensure someone else survives. Lon doesn't believe she deserves peace, but she believes others do. Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle. Season 2 opens with Lon under suspicion, and that's no accident. The Broken Circle places Lon in a position where her competence is questioned and her loyalty tested. Her lineage looms larger than ever, reminding viewers that even in Starfleet, some names never lose their stigma. This episode reinforces how isolated Lon remains. She's trusted with lives, but rarely with understanding. Her interactions suggest someone who has learned to expect rejection, and who is quietly relieved when it happens, because it confirms what she already believes about herself. Lon doesn't seek vindication. She seeks purpose. Season 2, Episode 3, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is the single most important Lon episode of the series. Thrown into an alternate timeline alongside James T. Kirk, Lon is forced to confront not just her past, but the inevitability of her name. This episode humanizes her in ways Strange New Worlds had only hinted at before. Away from Starfleet, away from rank and duty, Lon allows herself to be vulnerable, even hopeful. Her bond with Kirk isn't a romance in the traditional sense. It's a glimpse of who Lon might be if she weren't carrying the weight of history. For the first time, she laughs without restraint. She imagines a future not defined by fear. And then she lets it go. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow is devastating because Lon chooses duty over happiness, not because Starfleet demands it, but because she believes the universe demands it of her. 7 Season 2, Episode 6, Lost in Translation. In Lost in Translation, Lon becomes an anchor rather than a weapon. As Uhura struggles with terrifying visions, Lon recognizes the signs of internal collapse because she's lived with it for years. She doesn't rush to fix Uhura. She listens. She stays. She believes her. This episode highlights Lon's quiet evolution. Where once she isolated herself, she now extends empathy outward. Her trauma hasn't disappeared, but it has taught her how to sit with others in pain without flinching. Lon may not believe she can be saved, but she believes others can be. 8 Season 2, Episode 10, Hegemony. Hegemony brings Lon's story full circle. Facing the Gorn once again, Lon is no longer just a survivor reacting to fear. She's a strategist, a leader, and, most importantly, someone who has chosen to keep fighting despite the cost. Her fear hasn't vanished, but it no longer defines her. What makes this episode essential is how it reframes Lon's relationship with the Gorn. They no longer own her story. She does. By the time the episode ends, Lon Noonien Singh stands as one of Star Trek's most fully realized portraits of trauma, resilience, and moral strength. A character who never needed redemption, only understanding. Why Lon matters. Lon isn't the loudest character on Strange New Worlds. She doesn't deliver speeches about hope or optimism, but she embodies one of Star Trek's most enduring truths. The future is built not just by dreamers, but by survivors who choose to believe in something better anyway. Watching these 8 episodes doesn't just explain who Lon is. It reveals why she belongs on the Enterprise, and why Star Trek is richer for telling her story. Lon Noonien Singh isn't defined by her name. She's defined by what she refuses to let it take from her. Importantly, someone who has chosen to keep fighting despite the cost. Her fear hasn't vanished, but it no longer defines her. What makes this episode essential is how it reframes Lon's relationship with the Gorn. They no longer own her story. She does. By the time the episode ends, Lon Noonien Singh stands as one of Star Trek's most fully realized portraits of trauma, resilience, and moral strength. A character who never needed redemption, only understanding. Why Lon matters. Lon isn't the loudest character on Strange New Worlds. She doesn't deliver speeches about hope or optimism, but she embodies one of Star Trek's most enduring truths. The future is built not just by dreamers, but by survivors who choose to believe in something better anyway. Watching these 8 episodes doesn't just explain who Lon is. It reveals why she belongs on the Enterprise, and why Star Trek